Hello, I'm Tommy Littlefield. I will be doing my technology analysis presentation on social media data mining. The topics covered today will be basic overview of social media data mining, data gathering, data sorting and processing, data analysis and insights, application of social media data mining, challenges and limitations of the data mining process, ethics and legal concerns, and we will also cover the Cambridge Analytica scandal as well as potential future developments. So what is social media data mining? To begin with, let's start with what basic data mining is. It's the gathering of data from internal databases, publicly available, or private research studies, and using that information to draw conclusions about a person or groups of people to make informed decisions based on statistical analysis. So this is like taking statistical studies that are available on the internet, available in a library somewhere, and you can take all that historical data and some current research if you're doing surveys, and you can use that to make strategic decisions and better informed decisions rather than just kind of guessing what the future holds. The social media data mining takes this concept like a step further, and that's when you start gathering all the data from social media sites such as Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, etc., and analyzes that data to make meaningful conclusions to help make decisions of influential social media to send the users to manipulate them to act in the interest of the person or company doing the social media data mining. So this is like they're going to gather things such as like your name, your birthday, and then they're going to start watching, stuff you're liking, stuff you're disliking, stuff you're commenting on, stuff you're interacting in, what's getting you to react. And they're using this information to kind of send you other social media content that you'll respond to hopefully in a receptive way or at least in the way that they want so they can gather more data so they know what to send you in the future or what to send other people that might have a like mind and get you into their way of thinking or to buy a product or other such forms of shifting your opinion. The relevance of this practice of social media data mining is pretty apparent in a world that is increasingly digital and encourages almost everyone to have several forms of social media. This practice can potentially cause lots of harm if used incorrectly, as once enough data is collected and processed, companies can pretty successfully target susceptible users with specific content that can sway their way of thinking, perhaps making them buy a product they were not even considering buying, or even swaying the way they think and vote politically. Though not an inherently bad practice, it definitely has lots of uses that can trend toward a questionable morality. Some positive ways it could be used is sending users neutral and or informative videos on topics or subjects the user may find entertaining or useful, but that don't try to sway their thinking. Next, we will be covering the various social media data mining techniques that are used to gather the data, sort and process it, and then make it into useful visual data that can be used to make statistical analysis and predictions. Start with the data gathering process. What data is gathered? Anything publicly available, such as age, gender, profession, geographic location, birthday, etc. Anything they can find out that's going to be basically on like your general information on a social media page, they're going to gather, they're going to use, they're going to have in their records. Whether they have a use for it or not, they don't know yet, but they're going to gather everything they can. And then this is going to be also anything generated, such as likes, comments, shares, how many times you watched a video, how long you watched it, when you stopped watching it. If it was a several minute long video, it might see where people are quit watching the video, so they know what's losing their interest. Any kind of data they can gather that might tell them more behavioral patterns of their users. And so, where is this data getting gathered from? The data is getting gathered from obviously the social media platforms of all types: Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, MySpace, any of those, YouTube. Uh, but it's also getting it from various news sites, blogs, forums, any other public pages where users interact or leave comments. So anything you might leave an email that's connected to your social media, anywhere you might be leaving something that uses your email as a user account might be able to trade data with your social media and leave more trail, more data points for them to gather to use on you. So pretty cool representation I'm going to be using throughout this PowerPoint is going to be these Legos over here. And right now we're at just the data. So just a bunch of mixed Legos, a bunch of mixed colors. You don't know what you have yet. You just have a big pile of mixed Legos, mixed data. And that's the step we're on right now is this big pile of mixed data. We also have this fun little statistic from Hootsuite on social media use around the world. So, I mean, they have a pretty big access to data points to gather, information from people. And, we got 4.48 billion users. Social media users, uh, as a percentage of the global population, 56.8% of all people around the world are using social media. I mean, when you start thinking about kids that, can't even use a computer yet, that's a pretty big chunk of the population. This fluctuates by up to 13% globally every year throughout the year, and 99% of users use their phone, and so that phone has a camera. That camera can also do facial recognition, facial analysis, which is another data gathering, data sorting technique that we'll talk about later. And the average amount of time that somebody spends on social media a day is 2.5 hours almost. So I mean that's a lot of time that they can use to figure out what you like and what's going to help sway you into their way of thinking or whatever they're trying, whatever their agenda is when they're doing this data mining. How is all this data gathering done? So, how do they get all this data from our social media? How are they gathering it all? You obviously can't just go in user by user and, fill in all these, information charts. So they have a few different ways they do this. Companies can use publicly available APIs or developers of applications. And so these are application programming interfaces. It allows two applications to share data with one another. So like when you have a video that you want to share on Facebook, and you don't have to go all the way in and log into Facebook to share it. You can just click share and it does it automatically. That's an API communicating between two different apps. Another example is when Facebook rolled out their new API in 2010 that allowed developers to see social connections of its users. So the developers actually gave the users a limited version of this. This is where when you're playing Farmville and it lets you see which of your friends are on Facebook are also playing Farmville and gathers data on how y'all interact in the game. And so this is gathering, a lot of data, analyzing it, and using it to make decisions on how to develop the game further. Another example of this was during the Obama campaign. They used campaign supporters of Obama, and the algorithms automatically communicated between different supporters and political groups that all supported Obama so they could get together easier and were able to communicate and reach out to each other. Data partnerships are another method used. So this is an agreement between two companies to share data. It gives both these companies a wider pool of knowledge, research, and expertise to use that they may not have had the resources to access or get on their own. So, like, obviously, this is mutually beneficial. Both companies are kind of openly sharing their information. Obviously, you can't know that the information is accurate. You got to do that on faith or double check it. But hopefully, all the data they're sharing is good, and y'all can both have a wider access of knowledge and research, as it says. Data purchase is another thing, and so that's where a company has data and doesn't want to share it openly because they have all the data they think they need, and they're selling that data to other companies that may use it for their own purposes, their own data mining purposes or research to figure out analysis on a product and how it's being interacted with by the people out in the world and if they're liking it or disliking it. And next, we got web scraping, also known as screen scraping, web harvesting, or web data extraction. So this one's probably the most technically involved. And this is the process of extracting data from specific web pages by parsing the site's HTML, saving the desired data for later cleanup and processing. It can be done two ways: manual for simple extractions or automated when trying to gather large amounts of data from several websites. So when done manually, you're going to open the targeted web page. Right-clicking on this page and opening the inspect tool allows you to see and filter data in code format to help parse through for required data. You copy this desired data and save it for your own later use for however you're going to process and organize it for later. It can be done automatically by using your own web scraping software or purchasing a web scraping tool. So these are sold commercially by some companies, so you can scrape websites and do your own data harvesting for your data analytics. And so you're going to get your scraping tool, and it'll automatically send HTTP requests to servers hosting the page. This server is then going to return the source code to the web scraping program, and the scraping tool then parses the HTML and extracts desired data. The extracted data is then saved for future analysis or use. And so the only issue with, obviously, we have all these, ways to stop the AI, are you a robot questions. And so this scraping tool will occasionally be rejected by those, but obviously it's not always going to be rejected. And if you have a good one, it will rarely be rejected, and you can get lots and lots of data using this and using good filters to figure out which of that data is useful and worth collecting. Up in the process, we have data sorting and processing. So back to our Lego chart, we just moved on from our big mixed brick of Legos. That's where we're at. And we're trying to get to this nice sorted, data pile where we don't have any irrelevant data. Everything's sorted in, categories and ready to be arranged into something that's going to be useful. So we're going to start this process by the pre-processing and cleaning of social media data. So this is going to be using programs to remove any irrelevant information, missing or incomplete data, and also filtering out spam or bot-generated content. So this can be content that was, error-generated, made by user error, made by AI, made by bots just to spam out content or ads, and you're going to need some way to get rid of this. And this is done by using arrays and programs that sift through the collected raw data and use common data structures such as arrays, lists, sets, maps, trees, and graphs to sort out and filter out unwanted or corrupted data. So of these structures, you're going to want to use arrays and lists for more simple filtering outs because they're a linear data structure, and they're not really great at filtering out when you have multiple criteria, but they're great if you're just trying to do quick, easy modifications using index positions or just single filter modifications. Sets and maps are nonlinear data structures that store data in a hash table, which is a collection of key and value pairs, useful for when you need to filter data by uniqueness of the data element or need to filter by key, value, or set operation. So the only issue with sets and maps is they do consume more memory than arrays or lists, and they don't preserve the indexed order of the data elements, so you can't arrange by data indexing. Continuing with data sorting and processing. We've got our data started to be sorted. We're going to finish sorting and start arranging it and getting it so we can really see what the useful data is we have and how we can maybe use it to make patterns that were useful to us. So the techniques for organization and structuring the data is categorizing it based on user demographics. So this is splitting data groups up so the targets from the same demographics are in together and easily compared or grouped with relevant data. So this might be all the people from a certain city, all the males, all the females, everybody that goes to a certain high school, everybody that likes a certain sports team. It's just grouping a demographic that might be responsive to a ad that you're trying to throw. So if you're a sports jersey selling person, then you're obviously going to be one of the people that are sports fans. And that's what you're looking for with these demographics and you're splitting up. They also have sentiment analysis and emotion detection. So this is using your cameras on phone, computer, etc. to record and analyze people's reaction to ads, videos, pictures, and other content, so it can find what people respond to and what targeted media and ads to send them. So this is literally watching your face at all times when you're on a social media that you've allowed that on. And it can tell, like, if you're happy, sad, how you're reacting to social media, and file that reaction away as more data to be used on your behavior or a group of people's behavior and how they'll react to things. We also have keyword extraction. So this is using algorithms to extract interesting keywords from different texts. So when they're getting your posts, your comments, this is just searching for like interesting keywords, such, something that might be used as a hashtag on Twitter or something like that, or just a specific word that seems to be being thrown around a lot. Then we also have topic modeling. And so this is also using a set of algorithms, but it's using it to infer the topic of documents or text by essentially reading and grouping together words and analyzing it to get a general topic of what it might be. So if you have a bunch of different types of foods in a bunch of paragraphs, it might overall say the topic of the document is for foods. And the final steps for making all this data that they've gathered useful and presentable is we're going to get to the analysis and insights part of this data mining. And so now we're finally going to get to this beautifully presented last Lego bricks, all our beautiful charts. We know how each level is, about how many bricks we have. Easy to compare, easy to see a reading. It's visually presented in a way that we can understand immediately as soon as we glance at it. There's no analysis needed. It's immediately apparent how much of each brick we have compared to the other amounts of bricks. So this is a visualization of social media data. So this is the process of taking all our sorted and arranged data and applying it to easy to understand forms of media, such as Excel spreadsheets, charts, graphs, and other things as that. Identification of trends and patterns is using these visualized data from our charts and graphs that we've made, or Excel spreadsheets, or however we've decided to present this data in the most useful form, and studying that and figuring out the trend, using that data and historical data gathered to successfully identify patterns that can be used for market analytics and targeted media campaigns or targeted advertisements. Some more advanced uses of data analytics for deriving insights are once again the influence of sentiment analysis on the cameras. Uh, Go in like a little deeper on this. Like they can make very advanced decisions, and this kind of goes into the predictive analytics too, because it's using all this, and they can really use your reactions to start getting a good pattern of how you'll react to things and what to send you to get you to react how they want. And this is going into the next bit here, the predictive analytics and machine learning algorithms. So machine learning was made back in the 1950s, and is like the ability for a computer to learn without being explicitly programmed to, by using pattern recognition and data analysis. It can become more intelligent over time and make more informed decisions, correct its previous mistakes, and just do better in the future. It can learn. It can really learn. That's what a lot of the AIs are based off of today. Is a very advanced form of this initial technology, where you can chat with a robot and they can talk back to you. This is all the machine learning and pattern recognition and getting back to you. And then the predictive analytics is using all of these topics: predictive modeling, machine learning, the data mining, other statistical techniques, the sentiment analysis. And it's using statistics of that data, both historical and to the present, to estimate or predict future outcomes pretty accurately sometimes. Like it can get really scary when you have enough computing power and enough data points. They can get really, really good at predicting what will make somebody react, or what will happen with a trend or something in the future. Now you've got all this useful, visualized, processed data. How do we apply this all the social media data mining that we've done? So it can be used for a few different things. Marketing and advertising is a huge part of it right now. So this is targeted advertising and personalized campaigns that are using what they think you'll best react to. That's what they're going to be sending you. They're going to be sending you something that your demographic is positively responding to, that they think will do the most influence. It's also going to use consumer behavior analysis and market research to see how their product's doing. Once again, this is like I was saying earlier, where they're monitoring comments and using keyword searches to see what people are saying about their products in reviews and comments. They can go through this and find all those keywords and see if people are liking it or hating it. We also have customer relationship management, CRM. So this is kind of like just what I was just saying, listening to customer sentiment analysis, listening to reviews, being able to get back and reach out to people on reviews that had a bad experience, so you can maybe change their mind and get a bad review off, and just connect more with your customers, and an ability to just get out there with your users and customers and make them feel better about their experience with you. Uh, you can also use public opinion monitoring and sentiment analysis. So again, with the looking how you're reacting, this can be, your face through your camera, or how you're actually liking and reacting, just verbally, or through the different likes, dislike, love, laugh emojis that they might have attached to a social media post. So the challenges and limitations of social media data mining. Data quality and reliability issues. Filters aren't perfect. Some corrupt data will get through from bots and user errors, and this will potentially skew resulting statistic analysis. So your predictions might be a bit off. They might not be quite as on point as you want, or in, even worse cases, if you got too much errors, then, it's going to be completely wrong, completely off. It's going to be useless data. It's not going to be very useful. Again, like we were mentioning on the data sharing, you got to hope that they're sending you the right data, and that you aren't getting sent false data or skewed data to throw off your company, and that everybody's being operating with integrity and honesty in the business. The next issue, the biggest issue we have, is scalability and computational challenges. To get the best results, you need more and more data points to reference on each person. The more you have, the more data you're going to be able to make statistics with, the more useful data you're going to be able to sort and get out of all that data and process through. But that's going to take more and more computer memory to store all that data. It's going to take more and more RAM and hardware, better computer hardware to gather and be able to go through all that and have an accurate analysis with all that data that you've gathered. And so you're going to really need to have upgraded computers, and our technologies there is definitely this business model of social media data mining is definitely growing rapidly. But as computers improve, it's just going to get better and better. As our AI algorithms improve, our machine learning improves, this stuff is going to get really crazy. And what's going to be holding it back is just how much computing power and ability to store information that a company has. Legal and ethical considerations to data mining. So since social media data mining is still a relatively new concept, the internet itself is, relatively new, some would say. And so it's still kind of debated on how ethical it is to practice this, to gather all this data, to use it, to manipulate people with it. Where's the line? When does it need to be drawn? What's okay to do? What's not okay? And, this is caused by the fact that, a lot of users, even though they've agreed, because you have to use a lot of these platforms to share everything that you do on the platform publicly, it's largely varied on what people actually think should be and shouldn't be just publicly accessed by anybody that wants to access it. And this is a lot of contention. People just don't obviously want to be manipulated, and it's exacerbated further by the fact that data mining on the level we experience now with the web browser, cookies, and social media that we have developed in recent years means that there is currently not even a framework of the ethics that we should be applying to the situation. And so people just don't know where the line is, when it should be drawn, and when to stop it. And so right now, this data is being used however people want it for the most part. And it can get pretty nasty sometimes. One such ethical issue, which you may have heard of, may not have heard of, is the Cambridge Analytica scandal. And so this is a scandal that involved Alexander Kogan at he was an academic at the University of Cambridge. He used the Facebook Open Graph API tool that we talked about earlier that they released in 2010 to research users and determine what might influence their behavior. So he was kind of the big leader on figuring out this behavioral analysis predictive models and how to apply it using social media data to make pretty accurate analyses. And so he gave this to all this research that he did to an organization called Cambridge Analytica. This is a company that provided data-driven services to political campaigns. and they claimed that they could do this by using Facebook data to influence people for their clients and specific targets and ads, a process that's known as micro-targeting. So this is like what we've been talking about, where they're gathering a lot of data and sending you very specific forms of social media content, political ads, or marketing ads that are designed to specifically get you like to do what they want, to do as they are trying to influence you to do. And so Cambridge Analytica was using this data, this research, to essentially aid Trump's campaign, and they were setting up his opposition. They were setting up uh, just other politicians to fail, and by using all this data mining ability to throw people under the bus and just target them politically and get them arrested for scandals and other things to get them off the running. And so on March 17th, 2018, a whistleblower that had worked at Cambridge Analytica reported to New York Times that the company had utilized the 50 million Facebook profiles to do all this. Like all this data that they'd been using to influence the elections in America. And this was a British UK run company. University of Cambridge is not even an American company, and that's what they were getting their fingers into. And so this resulted in American, British, Canadian, Indian, and European Union government officials all holding hearings with the Facebook CEO, Mark Zuckerberg. So these are all those hearings where Mark Zuckerberg was having to explain how social media worked, how that stuff worked, who had access to the data, and how they were protecting people's data. And this did result in some social media platform companies, becoming more transparent with the users on what ads are running and allowing them to opt out of political ads if they wanted to. Or in the case of Twitter, just not allowing political ads at all on the platform. Like you can't no political on Twitter and stuff like Google. There you can opt out of the political ads, and it shows you what it's going to run to you and run and show you and why. So future developments in this field, as I was saying, the data mining process is going to get practiced and more refined as we go. They're going to get better and more accurate at making these statistical conclusions and patterns and figuring them out. They're going to figure out how to sort and process the scrape data better and get all the useless data out, which will also increase the accuracy. We're going to develop better AI, which is going to accomplish a lot of that, and program more advanced algorithms to gather, process, and analyze this data. This is going to increase the ability for them to manipulate people and violate your privacy while really only increase in accuracy and magnitude. They're going to be able to do it, and they're going to be able to do it better than they are today. This could in the future include using deep fake technology. So this is like stuff like where they can literally send you a video that's generated by a computer that looks like somebody else, somebody famous, that they can take video and create a whole fake video of something that's never happened, never been recorded by a real person, and send you a video of that person supposedly saying that stuff in that video, and it can be very influential if you thought it was somebody you admired telling you that, and it's something they never even said in real life. But that's what this deepfake technology is going to lead to. And the social media data mining can gather what would be most useful to deepfake on you. And so this is kind of an advance of like what already happened at the Cambridge Analytica scandal, where they were gathering all the social media information to influence our political presidential campaigns. Other advances in the field could be hopefully including out an ethical line that we will draw and how to make the laws that will prevent this technology from being abused further, and instead encourage neutral, even positive forms of data mining to help assist users to get the content that they actually want without trying to further manipulate them to cause or to buy a product. And so this is a really hard debate to get to. Because like on the one hand it can be useful, but where do you draw the line on manipulation? Because if I'm talking about making a lasagna with my wife, and then I get a lasagna recipe on my social media, if it was a good recipe, that's great and all, and I guess that's good that I have a recipe now, but like, was my privacy violated even if it was useful information that they presented me, because they did just overhear a conversation and have data mined that to send me an ad for a lasagna recipe? And so even when it's useful, it can be a weird feeling. And so it's kind of hard to know when to draw the line and where the laws are going to be and how they're actually going to manage to protect people, because it just seems like this is just a very hard ethical problem to really nail down. Uh, Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope you all have a great day. If you have any thoughts, leave them in the comments. Thank you. These are my references if you needed to look into any more of this information, if you wanted to educate or read up any more on it.